welcome to Growing in Grace Together. I'm Joel Breezakey. Now, it's been a while since I've done a Growing in Grace Together program. This is kind of a supplemental podcast to the Growing in Grace podcast that I do with my friend Mike Kapler. That's a weekly podcast that airs at growingingrace.org. And something different that I like to do, I like to find out what's going on in kind of the grace community, what's going on out there, find out some resources, find out things that people are doing that might be beneficial to the Growing in Grace listeners. And today with me, I've got Lucas Miles, and I've known Lucas for a little bit, a year or two, I suppose. And Lucas, you are with the Oasis Grace Association, is that right? Is that what it's called?
Yes, it's actually kind of a compilation of organizations. We have the Oasis Network for Churches as the parent group, and then the Oasis Grace Association is one of our additional ministries.
Oh, okay.
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's good, really good to have you with me. I've kind of have thought about different people who I'd like to have conversations with, and you've always been on my mind, and so I was glad that we got together for this. So
Absolutely.
How would you?
No, I'm happy to connect.
Yeah, you bet. It's really wonderful. So I just kind of wondering, how would you, if you were to describe the mission, the purpose, maybe some of the activities of what you do, how would you describe that?
We actually got started as a church planning organization, and that was our main focus and thrust. And, we've certainly all heard a lot of, Barna statistics and things on the importance of church planning, and we still really believe those things. But, probably about maybe about 6-7 years ago now, we had a pretty big shift, and we were sharing the grace message prior to that. But we really, it was kind of with, I'm the second president of the network, so our founder had started it really on this church planning concept. And about the time that I took over, I just really felt like the Lord was saying, this thing has to be focused on the message of grace as a center point. And church planning then just became one of the expressions through which we get the message out. And so really, at the end of the day, everything that we do, and there's a lot of stuff that happens within the Oasis Network, but everything that we do is centered on, just sharing grace with the world.
All right. So church planning, is that something that you do? I know that you are based in Indiana. Now, are there churches in other places around the world, around the country, or how's that coming together?
Absolutely. We have we have about 20 churches right now and growing that are part of the Oasis Network. That's different than the Oasis Grace Association. There's actually more that are part of the association level, and I can talk about that here in a minute. But as far as our network churches that kind of take on that Oasis branding, if you will, we have 5 in the U.S. We have 2 in Florida. We have 1 in Ohio, 1 in Michigan, and then my church in Indiana. So I spend my time kind of pastoring here locally in Granger, Indiana. It's in northern Indiana. And then also, travel, for our network. So our church is pretty gracious here locally to let me kind of spend a lot of my time away. So I'm on the road quite a bit. And then we have about 15 churches internationally. We're actually working on a couple new plants. We've launched in Malaysia. We have a church there called Oasis Grace Malaysia. We're very saturated in Kenya, Uganda. We're working on a plant in Tanzania. We have several churches in Mexico, and we're working on targeting a particular city in South Sudan right now. So it's been pretty exciting just seeing the message go forth, and that's just one of the ways in which we, kind of share grace is through church planning. But certainly there's a need for those churches, and we get requests every single day of, hey, is there a church near us that's sharing this message? As I know a lot of other people, hear that as well.
All right, now kind of a side question here. I know a lot of people these days seem to be, and this is unfortunate, I think, seem to be critical of kind of the whole church organization type of thing. And I understand that in churches there's abuse and there's legalism, and people can take it the wrong way. But how do you view that then? Knowing that you're planting churches, you're building churches, and I think that's a wonderful thing. How would you respond to those who are kind of critical of the whole church system thing?
I think a lot of what's happening today, and we speak out about this quite a bit. So I appreciate a question like this. Is it's essentially I think a response of immaturity. That's kind of in this disguise of being this high spiritual concept of real grace doesn't need any organization, and real grace has no structure, and real grace, is just this organic thing. And the kingdom of God, what most people don't understand is a both and kingdom. It's possible to be organic and organized. It's possible to, to have, strong leaders and a great structure. Ryan Rufus actually in Hong Kong, he's putting out a new book, just released it, called After the Revolution. He addresses some of these things really head on, just has some great responses to it. But, our church is functioning grace. I mean, we found a way to do practical grace on a structured level. They're organized in the sense that, we have Sunday morning services. We have life groups. We have opportunities for people to get involved and to serve and do these things. But people know and they hear regularly, the gospel of grace. They're not doing these things out of obligation. They're not doing these things because they're forced into these systems, or they have to, toe the line in order to, have somebody look at them favorably, or, any of these things. They do it because they want to. And grace actually produces, it produces a desire for, godliness and service and, these things more so than legalism ever should.
All right.
And I think a lot of what happens is what is happening in kind of, if you want to call it these kind of grace, these kind of subsects of grace is really, it's just this elitist response. It's selfishness. It's thinking that because, I have the gospel and, everybody else, they can fend for themselves or something. If you want to get the gospel out, the best way to do it is to organize yourselves. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of, without getting too political here, there's a lot of political groups, specifically in the States right now, but certainly, you could look at groups around the world or even terrorist organizations that understand that organization is the key to advancing their cause.
Right.
And I think it's really sad that those within the grace community are kind of, really rejecting, organization, because it's really just a ploy of the enemy to stifle the message. And long term, we'll never be able to reach people unless we work together and unless we organize. So I think that's hugely important.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, the body is a unit. We are, Christ's body is made up of not just one person, not just a couple people. It is made up of lots of people, and it's based upon relationships, and the whole getting together in grace is basically about a body getting together, organizing, and, like you say, getting the message out. And I know that, some people, where they're upset or where, they've been hurt in the church or abused and things like that. And I understand that, because I know that, well, here's the thing, when two or more people are gathered together in Jesus' name, there he is in the midst of them. And I understand too that when two or more people are gathered together, there's the chance that it can get messy. But
right, absolutely.
But what grace can do, I think, in all of that is to help people to grow together. It really is, to me, about growing together. That's one of the reasons why I call this particular podcast Growing in Grace Together, is because it's about people growing together and not just kind of secluding yourself. So anyway, that was kind of a side question. I didn't really mean to get into that, but I thought you'd be the person to ask about that.
Joel, let me just toss this out. We have a resource called it's called Post-Traumatic Church Disorder, and we kind of coined this phrase or this label. And I think there's a lot of people who have experienced a lot of hurt in the church, like what you're saying, and there's the danger of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, sort of analogy here. And so, if people hear this title, Post-Traumatic Church Disorder, and just all the time I hear, man, I got that, and they don't want to step foot in the church again because they've been beat up so bad. And so it's a series where I just kind of share my story, went through some pretty terrible things in traditional church, have a real passion to see church done differently, to have it function in grace. And I believe that there's a way that we can do that and still have some structure in our organization and forward motion and those things. So if that's something that somebody's interested, they can certainly go to our website, check that out.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's good to hear about that. And speaking of that, what is the website that they can go to and get some resources?
Yeah, it's
such as
we're prepping on launching a new site here probably in the next 30 to 60 days at the longest. But the current site is it'll have the same address, domain. It's oasnet.org. So it's OASNET.org, and that's just short for the Oasis Network.
Okay, that's good. And I'll repeat that towards the end again, just in case somebody missed that. Conferences, the Oasis Grace Conference. Now, is there one of these coming up, or do you have several of these, or how does that work?
No, there's one coming up. We've done some roundtable events, kind of geographically in different parts of the country that are kind of one day, just experiences and things. But really, what everything's kind of gearing up towards is this October event. So this is our third year doing the event. The last 2 years it was underneath the name the North American Grace Conference, and we had so many people coming in internationally and things for this. We didn't want to just label it by a specific continent. So we've changed the name to the Oasis Grace Conference, and it's part of kind of a broader Oasis Grace Association, which is really kind of a free association of churches that partner together to accomplish more together than they could on their own. And this year's conference is in October. It's October 2nd through the 4th, and we take kind of a unique approach to this. Our goal, you go to a lot of conferences and you have, 4 main speakers and they're, these big names and everybody's coming in there to hear them. And this event isn't really about that. This event is about, really working together. And really what you said, I mean, that's why I love your podcast is, growing together. And so what we do is we bring in and we give who we feel are just really just all-star local leaders, within the Grace community, all around the U.S. and even around the world. We have different guys that come in. We give them opportunity to share what they're doing, to share on particular themes. And so it's 30-minute sessions, and we just, we call them basically lightning rounds. And so we give opportunity for these guys to get up there and share their hearts. And then, we certainly have, our guys that are really, kind of leading the charge in some ways that we give some more time to. But we try to allow as many people to share as possible each year. And, it's a great opportunity to network, to get connected, to share about your particular ministry, share about ways that guys can get connected with what you're doing. And then, there's just the sessions are awesome. Worship is awesome. We have Joanna Beasley, who's a former American Idol semifinalist. It's leading worship this year. She does a lot of stuff for the Oasis Network. We also have Katie Gustafson, who's a worship leader out of Nashville. A few other people coming in as well. This year we're excited to host Keith Hudson. And most people know him as Katy Perry's dad.
Right.
Keith's been a pastor for years, and he's probably a little bit outside of what you and I would know as the Grace movement, in the sense that he might not have all the same verbiage as say some of these other guys, but he is without a doubt teaching a God loves you and just overcoming your past message. And so we're bringing him in. He's actually going to be doing the evening sessions. So we'll have some of our part of the network that will be sharing during the day. And at night, he'll be doing a lot more outreach with the community for our larger worship events at night. So it's just a kind of a multifaceted event, a lot of fun. We have some more speakers we'll be announcing soon. But, Scott Hayes, Clinton Byers, James Wood, and myself, got a few others that we'll be releasing here as soon as I get, okays from all of them. In the past, we've had Jim Richards in. Andrew Womack has shared a video typically with us every single year. I recorded a piece for them last year. So just a lot of great information, a lot of great fellowship, and as far as I know, it's one of the largest kind of Grace movement events as far as having this many different ministries represented in one place.
Right, that really does sound like a really great gathering together of people and speakers and music and everything. I can understand how someone would just have a really great time doing that. Now, where is this going to be? It's October 2nd through 4th this year,
October
2013.
2nd through the 4th. We're actually, if you can hear, you might hear some strange noises in the back of this podcast. I got construction going on behind me, but it's going to be in our newly renovated building here. So it's in Granger, Indiana, October 2nd through the 4th, and we'll have registration and everything live on our website here soon, and so people can keep checking that back. They can also follow me on, at Lucas Miles on Twitter for posts on this, or on my Facebook account, and we'll keep them updated on registration. So it's a low-cost event. We have host families available on first come first served basis. For people. So it's really just about getting people together more than anything, and just, really how do we partner to see this message go out to the world.
Oh, man, that's wonderful. So I do hope people will check that out. Again, it's oasnet.org, OASNET.org. That's where they can get all the information for the conference and everything else. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely. So, there's a lot of ways for people to connect with us even beyond this. We do everything from talent management to Life coaching is kind of a way in which we reach people that don't know they need discipled. We have kind of our church planning arm. We're working on a few TV concepts right now just to share the message of grace a little bit louder. And so I think there's, really something for everybody in terms of, their interests and their giftings to be able to connect with us.
Now, I just see on your Facebook the other day, your wife said something about you were writing a book.
Yeah, I do. I have a book that will be releasing hopefully yet this year called Good God. And, it's I probably can't say too much about it yet, but I think it's going to be powerful. I'm really excited. It's been something we've been working on for a while, and really kind of tackling a lot of the just the evidence, if you will, that this world or religion in the past has used to say that God is a certain way, or that he has a certain perspective or certain attitude. And, at the end of the day, it really creates a picture of God that's not too unlike the Greek gods of old, or even our Santa Claus might be better than the God that religion, paints a picture of most days. And so, really just trying to, use this as a way just to show people God's better than you think he is, and, trying to pull back some of those religious, thoughts and ideas to reveal, just the true reality of who he is, just his goodness.
Yeah, that would be a great read. I really do hope that gets out there as soon as we can, as soon as you can get it out there, because knowing the goodness of God, knowing that he's a good God, that's something that a lot of people struggle with. They don't really understand that. They don't know that. They know God. They know the words grace and mercy and things like that, but to really know him as good and that he's for them and not against them, that's the type of thing that a lot of people are missing out on, even people who've been in the church all their lives. And so anytime something like that can come out, I get excited about that stuff. So
yeah, it's a lot of, and this is some of the things I tackle in the book, but as you start talking to people about the goodness of God, they always have the, what about Job? What about Ananias and Sapphira? What about this? It's just one thing after another that they toss out. And, what I've really tried to do is create a resource kind of all in one place where people can go and see, the character of God, expose and kind of work through, through Scripture, and just something that you could, some of the resources that we see come out within kind of the grace revolution here. If you're not really into grace, it's really hard to read. It's really hard to pick up because, let's face it, grace can sound cult-like at times, where we have our own language, we have our own verbiage, and it's hard for people sometimes in the world who haven't ever approached the church before, or haven't ever approached this message before. It's sometimes we create obstacles without even knowing it. And so really what I've tried to do is create a book that you could give to anybody and kind of walk them through this journey where they don't have to have any sort of preset knowledge or opinion. And I call it kind of theology. It's really practical theology in that way. So I really designed it just to try to help people, walk through, in knowing God and knowing who he is. So, but yeah, that's something they can certainly check out. And then we're working on a new magazine launch. PDF version should be coming out soon, and we're going to be sending copies to churches as well. It's called 8x10, A Picture of Grace, and it's going to be just an expression of the Grace Association. And so that'll be something, it'll just be, available free PDFs, online, and articles, teachings, and, opportunities for more connection in there as well. So, got a lot of things happening. It's been exciting just seeing this message go forth. And man, as far as we know, right now we're the only grace-oriented church planting organization in the world. And I hope I'm wrong. I always tell people on that, but we just haven't seen anybody else really organizing this message in this way as far as church planting goes. And so, we welcome just anybody that's excited about getting this out and being part of this. Man, hit us up, connect with us. We'll explore ways that we can get involved together and work together. And, we try to be as accessible as possible.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Yeah, because I just like you, I don't know of any other church planting, grace-based church planting organization or anything like what you're talking about. Like you say, I understand what you're saying. You hope you're wrong, because the hope would be that there'd be more things like this out there.
Yeah, I hope there's dozens of them I've never heard of.
Yeah, exactly. But at least you're doing it, and that's the wonderful thing, because so many people need to hear this grace message and get connected with other people who are building one another up in the grace and the unconditional love of God. And so I'm really excited about what you're doing. And I really do appreciate you taking the time with me to talk these things out and to let people know what you're up to and what's out there, what resources are available for them. Again, oasnet.org, oasnet.org. And Lucas Miles, man, I really appreciate connecting with you today. It's been really wonderful.
Joel, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show, and hope to be back here soon.
All right, you bet. You take care, Lucas. And this is Joel Brueseke, Growing in Grace together at growingingrace.org.